Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. This is the show that is going to help you become your best self. Today, we are talking about why you should go to therapy. So, I go to therapy every single week, and I have been going to therapy on and off for years because I knew it was something I needed. And, there were times where people kind of pushed me to do it more. There was a specific time in my life that I've spoken about on this show where I was harming myself. And I wasn't in therapy currently at that time. And I was pushed more then to go to therapy and figure out whatever it took to pay for it. Because there's been times where the pockets of time that I haven't been in therapy is more because of price. So now I do go to therapy every single week because it's beneficial to me. I don't necessarily have like real big raging problems in my life, but I have work that needs to be done, like really deep work that needs to be worked on. And I am not ashamed of it at all whatsoever. And if you go to therapy on the regular, I don't think that you should be ashamed of it either. Even if I went like 3 times a week, I'd still be shouting it from the rooftops because it's healthy and because it's something that we need to normalize. And it's something that people need to understand is super important and shouldn't be looked down upon because, hey, at least people that are going to therapy are taking their life in their own hands to make it better, to have progress, change, and to live a better life because you are making those changes. So, yeah, I have been going on and off for years. Because I knew I needed it. But I wish I had had the opportunity to have counseling while I was growing up. But I knew with everything going on that never would have been an option. That would have allowed the secrets to get out and how like I was actually treated and the things that I was exposed to and all this, that, and the other. That would have been fantastic. And maybe my life would have been different, which is fine. Like, I don't regret necessarily things in my life that happened. It was all for a purpose and a reason. And I learned a lot about it and I'm stronger for it. And I'm able to help people because of it. But it probably would have been nice. I'm curious to, kind of daydream about how life would have been different with that. But, even still, I was happy the option to have someone to talk through my thoughts and experience with came about in college. And I didn't have to pay for it because it was an on-campus offering, which I know is one of the biggest reasons that prevents people from seeking out counseling because it's just so expensive. But I was able to go because honestly, the person that I was seeing on campus was having to get their hours in. So, you go to school, you do all the things, and you have to document a certain amount of hours of taking people to treat them. And the gal that I saw was trying to bank hours of people. So generally you do that on a college campus and you can get a lot of students and people to come in and you don't have to pay for it. And it was so great. I didn't actually start going to therapy until after I came back from terrible experience. When I went home to visit, like during my freshman year of college, I went home for Christmas to visit. It was terrible. I ended up going back to school early and just never returning home for a visit while I was in college. But when I came back from that visit, it was so abusive that I started therapy once school was back in session because it was just too much and I needed to talk to someone. I needed to figure out what the heck was happening. So I was grateful for that. I just know that I was grateful that I didn't have to pay for it because Lord knows I did not have the cash for that. And it's just so expensive. And my goal someday in the future actually is to create a fund for people to have access to mental health care without having to worry about the cost. I really want to be able to just give people the care that they truly need. And there are so many providers out there that do have sliding scales. So you can pay a reduced rate, but even that can still be expensive, especially if you need support more than once a week or once every 2 weeks, like whatever it is. I had a gal that I saw that only charged me $50 a visit, and I think I saw her like every week. And yeah, that still adds up though. If you don't have $50 a week or even every or $100 a month for every other week, because maybe you're living paycheck to paycheck and and we were kind of a little bit strapped for cash at that time, but it was really important for me to go. It can be really, really tough. And it's so tough, and it just really adds up. And as important as therapy is, it can still take a backseat to so many other things you have to spend money on just to live, right? If you have a family and maybe you have a car payment and you have to pay for where you live and food and whatever your kids need or whatever you need, or maybe you're sick and your health costs money too. And there's so many things. So a lot of times, therapy is like a last thought, but sometimes like people like me and the experiences that I went through and the things that I was battling, it had to come to the forefront and other things had to be sacrificed. But yeah, but it's important. And I believe we all know that, even if you're pushing back on actually following through with therapy, like if you know deep down that you need to seek out counseling and therapy, but you don't want to because of feeling like you're going to be judged or feeling shameful or like something's wrong with you, which none of those things are true. But even if you're pushing back on it, it's important because therapy can be really scary though. And that's another reason why people will not follow through with it. The idea of diving back into old trauma, reliving past events, having to break down limiting mindsets, confront some negative behaviors, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's so much. Even times like I get excited when I'm going to have therapy, like I'm going to have therapy tomorrow. But usually, like 5 or 10 minutes before the session starts, I get so anxious and nervous because I'm like, crap, I don't really feel like crying today. What if I do? What if I get angry? What if I close down? But it's all worth it. It's all worth it. Even though it's really scary, it's all worth it. Um, because having the courage and facing those types of fears is what's going to help you overcome what is holding you back in life. And for me personally, there was a lot of things that was holding me back from having a truly enjoyable life, and that could be true for you. And maybe you don't think so now, but if you took some time to widen your perspective and see what is affecting you from going after your goals and dreams, or if you feel like something is holding you back and you can't quite figure out what it is, maybe therapy would help you. So just something to consider, because when behaviors and mindsets negatively affect your day-to-day life, and just everything that you're doing, it's time to seek help to figure out what's going on and what you can do to grow and change, which I think that we all should be open to because it's just so helpful. It should be a normal part of life, growing and changing and continually working to become our best selves, something that I talk about a lot in here. So today I want to talk to you about why you should go to therapy. So beyond anything that I've already shared already, I want to give you 5 reasons why you should go to therapy. So let's just jump right into the list. The first one is to speak with someone without fear of judgment. So, a lot of us have friends and family members that we'll go to support groups. The episode right before this, I was speaking about healthy support groups, which is great. If you have people that you can go and talk to and let them know what you're going through, that's helpful. However, there are some things that we experience or we think about or we struggle with that we don't want to share with people, because even our closest friends, because you still have that overwhelming fear of judgment. And if you decide to go to therapy or counseling, you don't have to worry about that because they aren't going to judge you. They're like, I've been through so many therapists because it does take some time to find the right one. And I finally have found the right one, but they don't judge you. They'll tell you, well, at least in my experience, they'll tell you very forwardly, like, well, what that thought or that mindset or whatever, is not really serving you or helping you or is in the opposite direction of where you want to go, which is not a judgment. It's really just like, sharing the perspective they have and really like calling you out for having like a mindset that or behaviors that aren't in your best interest of having. But they're not judging you, because there are so many things that people go through. There's so many different ways that people experience stuff or process what they've been through. And so you'll have the freedom to speak, because obviously they can't tell anyone else either. They're are bound by the law. They can't share that information with anyone else. So it's a great opportunity for you to go and talk to someone about what's on your mind, what has been, weighing you down, plaguing you, and you can do that without being judged, which I feel like there are very few places you can do that these days, and there are very few people in our lives, if any, that you can do that with and feel so super comfortable. So just something to consider. The second one is to learn more about who you are and why you do what you do. So taking time to go to therapy and dive even deeper into self-awareness, if you've already started that practice on your own, is super helpful. Understanding who you are, like why you do the things you do, why you have the mindsets that you have, and where did those come from, and how did those evolve over time, and why you are continually walking in this or having these limiting beliefs, and just all that stuff. You can really talk about it in therapy because they'll help you uncover those things that you may not have thought about or even know how to get to, right? They'll ask you questions, and they'll really have you dig deep and really think things through and be able to make observations that other people in your life may not have been able to make. So really being able to learn more about who you are and why you do what you do based on what has happened to you or what you're going through can be really helpful, because I always talk about how self-awareness is king. So, okay, so the third reason why you should go to therapy is to process past experiences and events in your life. This is a bulk of what I would do in therapy, and even what I kind of do now in therapy, because I went through a lot of crap. I went through having a mom that was selling drugs and then turned and did drugs herself, and there would be like drug dealers that would come to the house, and I would see her like doing drugs and selling them. And I remember a time where she asked me to go grab her gun because she had to make sure that she was going to be safe with people coming over the house. And then my dad was master manipulator and mentally abusive, and he was also very manipulative with like women and just the things that he did, and just the people that were in and out of my life, and then everything that happened with my siblings that I didn't necessarily grow up with, but I spent some time with. And I process all past experiences and events, and it's so helpful because they're able to really help you dig deep if you've blocked out some of those things, kind of like let you trigger you in a safe space. That's how I think about it, and it's so helpful because it actually helped me understand like why I am so guarded, or why I am so clingy, and why I battle with codependency, and all these other things, and people pleasing, and a lot of these things that I already knew about myself, but really digging even deeper to understand like what happened and how that came about is so helpful. But really just breaking down those events and experiences that I probably tried to forget on purpose because it was just too harmful for my brain to even process or even deal with at the time, or even later in life. So really being able to process those things. Also, if you've gone through experiences that you decided to immediately forget because you didn't know what it meant and you didn't want to have to deal with any triggers or PTSD or anything like that after the fact, then you can actually talk through them in therapy and figure that out and see if it is still nagging you deep down in your subconscious, which it could very well do. Okay, so the fourth reason I have is to grow and change as a person. You can also take the time to come up with better coping mechanisms. For me, for example, when I was harming myself, I had to go to therapy because I had to figure out a better way to cope with the depression and the pain and the loneliness and the things that and the anxiety that I was going through, because that is not the best way to cope. And so it did help me. Therapy has helped me to grow and change as a person, to become a stronger person, to become more confident, to actually let my joy and happiness out, because I spent so many years locking that away because I didn't want to offend other people. I wanted to please others around me, and I wanted to just enmesh in what they were feeling and what they were going through, so that I didn't feel like I was the odd person out either, which is not the way to go. So yeah, spending time in therapy has really helped me grow and change as a person. And it's not going to be overnight, nor will it be even just a few months. It could take years, which it has for me, but it's so worth the time that you put in. If you actually put the time in to change and grow and to understand what you're going through and to understand the changes that you have to make and to follow through with those things. Okay, so the fifth and final reason that I think why you should go to therapy is to address what could be affecting current and future relationships. So for me, the longest time I just thought that everything that I'd gone through and the things that I was currently experiencing and dealing with only affected me. But there was a time where I found, like, when I transitioned from one therapist to another, which was like the one right before the one I have right now, my eyes were opened to how what I was going through was affecting my marriage. And it wasn't good, and I was just like, wow, I didn't realize that I was, it wasn't necessarily me being a damper or causing problems. It was just more like things were leaking out and just affecting, because it was just kind of spewing out of me. Really, it's the best way to describe it, as gross as that might sound. And going to therapy has helped me realize that, sometimes I was taking my anger out on my spouse, even though I felt like in the moment that it was for good reason because I was upset about whatever, but really I was just projecting my feelings about what I was going through and finding any reason I can to project that out onto him to make myself feel better and to not have to think about what I was actually dealing with and what was causing me stress and anxiety. So, going to therapy can really help you figure out if you feel like there's something rocky happening in the relationships in your life, but you can't quite figure out what it is. They will definitely be able to help you identify those things. So those are just a few reasons why you should go to therapy. If you go to your best friend, my best friend, Google, and ask why you should go to therapy or some of the top 10, 20 reasons you should go to therapy, you will get a lot more reasons. If you need more, if these are not helpful to you, which is totally fine. So, so maybe you know someone that you think should go, and you can pass this show on to them, and they can listen and maybe change their mindset about going to therapy, or maybe you've considered going, but you just didn't think it was right for you, and maybe this has changed your mind. Or again, if you need more information, I would encourage you to go online and look at it. Or even, the idea of just going and talking to someone, like not necessarily signing up for a session or anything, but just talking to someone on the phone and finding out if you feel like it would be right for you, or just to have like one session to try it out and see if it's something that you think would help you. So, okay, well, that's it for today's episode. Before I let you go, I want to remind you that if you're having a hard day, you always have the option to do the 5-minute reset. The 5-minute reset allows you to reset, reboot, restart your day right then and there, draw a line in the sand, and decide to leave all the stress and anxiety and problems behind and restart your day and have a better day. It allows you to take a break from any issues or burdens you're having, come up with resolutions for problems you are experiencing. I always encourage you to create a list of at least 4 things you're grateful for, big, small, medium size. It can be as small as, having a good lunch to something as big as clothes on your back and shoes on your feet. It doesn't matter. You can be grateful for anything and everything. And, practicing daily gratitude will actually really help you change your mindset on the daily. And then last but not least, make sure that you're feeling at least neutral, if not positive, about the rest of your day. Because if you spend more time in a positive mindset, not all the time, just a lot more bulk of the time, it'll help you get through those negative, hard times that you may be experiencing. So try that if you're having a hard day. Also, check below for the show notes, and you'll be able to see where to find me on Instagram, which is at Sabrina Joy Perozzo, or you can send me an email at realpositivegirlpodcast@gmail.com with any questions, comments, concerns, prayer requests, feedback, topic suggestions, or just to say hey, hi, and hello to me. And check my website, sabrinajoy.com, to listen to the show, to watch my YouTube channel, to donate to the show, and see cute pictures of me and my dog. So that's it. Just so you know, the next episode that's going to come out after this one will be about what does self-love look like. But until then, have a good one, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.